Good morning. I'm here today at Droitwich Salvation Army down by the station. Again, learning about how the community has been supporting people during the coronavirus and the pandemic. And today I want to introduce you to Carolyn Gomersal, who's the community support worker at Droitwich Salvation Army. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Wow, this looks like a great lot of food. So what's happening here, Carolyn?
So this is the food that we get donated by Waitrose through the Fair Share scheme that we get once or twice a week, depending on what they have available for us. This week was a particularly kind of good collection of food. So we've started to box this up into individual boxes that will go round to specific families that I'll be taking around this afternoon in the car.
Brilliant. And who are these people, families?
So these families will be people that we've linked up through the activities that we already run here through the Salvation Army. So families that we've identified that might need that extra support. Some of those who have been isolating, so not able to get out to the shops. So just to give them a little bit of extra help.
And a number of those would normally come down to coffee mornings here?
Yep, normally this place would be buzzing through the week, to luncheon clubs, a friendship group, and obviously we have our preschool next door as well. So obviously a lot of those activities, well the majority of those activities have had to be cancelled over the last few weeks because of lockdown. And though many of those came because they were already feeling isolated and perhaps living on their own. So obviously the lockdown has been a double whammy for them. So this is just one of the ways in which we're keeping connected with them.
Brilliant. And you've had some referrals from Here to Help at Worcestershire County Council as well?
Yep, through the Here to Help scheme we've been collecting some prescriptions for a few people and also done a couple of shopping trips for specific people identified through that scheme.
Okay, that must be a great comfort. You've got a really big congregation here at Salvation Army as well. I'm very loyal because I know how important the Salvation Army is to Droitwich and the community. How are you keeping the congregation going?
At the start of lockdown, we looked into how the best way that was going to be, and we've actually set up a buddy scheme. So people from within the Salvation Army, they have a buddy group of maybe about 6-7 people, and they will phone them every week just to check they're okay, to check they don't need anything practically, but also just to make sure they've had at least one conversation with somebody during the week, and if there's any prayer requests or anything specifically that we can support them with.
That's brilliant. Have you heard any stories of how people are struggling during the pandemic and what their particular issues are at all?
I think it is very much the loneliness. People are just accepting that this is the situation and they're making the very best they can of it, but they are really lonely and they're just to have somebody to speak to. So my Friday job, once I've finished here, I phone round about probably 60-70 people just so that they've had a phone call once a week. And it seems such a little thing really, but actually it's so appreciated by those that we call, just so that they've had a conversation with somebody.
And do you sense some fear as well about the pandemic and the situation, or?
Very much. I think it's the unknown, not knowing if this is all going to be over by whatever date. This is what people are saying to me, that real sense of we just don't know how long this is going to go on. We don't know kind of how it's going to impact further into the future. So that's really the big worry for a lot of people. And
I would imagine if they knew how Droitwich was affected, that would help them as well, because that would reassure them or allow them to manage themselves more carefully.
That's right, it gives them sort of a framework to work around.
That's brilliant. And I think you've told me, Carolyn, about walking a guide dog as well.
Yeah, that was one of the kind of strange spin-offs of the lockdown. Very early on, at the very beginning of lockdown, one of our ladies who comes here to the luncheon club and friendship group, she was having to shield, as many people have had to, but she has a guide dog, and she was very concerned because she couldn't go out as to how the guide dog would be exercised. So we just jumped at the chance, myself and my daughters. We've been going out every day for 11 weeks now, taking the guide dog out just so that she can have her exercise. But more recently, obviously now she's worried about where the guide dog will be able to keep up with her skills. So we've also been going out with the harness so that she can make sure she's still in work mode, so that when the lady is ready and able to be going back out, obviously the dog will be ready for work again.
That's brilliant. And I think you were saying that it's quite interesting or fun how the guide dog plays around when it's off, with you guys, but really back into work when it's in guide dog.
It's absolutely fascinating to watch. Yeah, we go out to play effectively, and she's running around and chasing a ball or whatever. But then once that harness is on, she's in work mode, and she really behaves and takes us. And even ironically, we're quite new to Droitwich, so she's actually taught us a shortcut. So it comes to something when a guide dog's teaching me the way around town. It's quite funny.
That's great, that's great. And you've got the preschool next door as well, and that's still operating?
Yeah, that throughout, although everything else in our programme has obviously had to close, the preschool has carried on opening throughout that time. Initially just obviously for key worker families to support them so that they could go out to work, but just this week, as in line with government guidelines, they have been open to any of the other children who wish to come as well. So that's obviously been a great support for those families who have needed to work, and now a great support to those families who have had young children at home for 10 weeks and want to get them back into some sort of structure again.
Terrific. And helping, keeping in touch with people as well. You're still taking the war cry round as well.
Yes, that's one of the things that, again, is really appreciated by those that we kind of connect with each week. That maybe every couple of weeks we'll take a copy of the war cry, along with I've done some little activity books. So it's a lot of those that come to our friendship group love quizzes and those sort of things. So we've done up just a really simple activity book with quizzes and with some things to think about as well. So that's been a really good way of connecting with people.
That's terrific, Caroline. And I presume that the rest of the army is helping you as well. But I know you're the community support worker, so you're probably organising and maintaining all this, but you call on other...
Oh, absolutely, yes. Although sort of, obviously I'm kind of here to do a lot of this work, there are other people that are doing a lot behind the scenes as well, making phone calls, making sure the practical things, risk assessments and all that, everything's in place. And that thing, obviously our charity shop has had to close during the pandemic, so that's been obviously a concern, because that's now 10-11 weeks without an income that would have supported a lot of our work. So along with the Salvation Army nationally, we've set up a Just Giving page as well, so that's available, because there have been people, we don't do it for the money, but there have been those that are wanting to give back in some way, so that's a way in which they've been able to do that.
And do you have plans to open the shop at all?
Obviously we're waiting on government guidelines. At the moment that's looking as though that's going to be in a month or so. So we're having to look about how we can do that safely for our staff and also obviously the customers.
And obviously during this time a lot of people have been tidying their houses and stuff, so they may have goods to give away. So they'd have to wait for the shop to open to then... Yeah,
that's very much been the policy from the Salvation Army right through the United Kingdom, but as well here, that if you can just hold on to things for now, because obviously we need to make sure we receive them safely and can process them properly.
Caroline, that's brilliant. Thank you on behalf of Droitwich and the wider community, because I know you're going to the rural areas and other locations as well. Thank you very much for all you're doing during the pandemic. It really is appreciated.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank
you.
you.